Hi guys, in this video we're looking at a test route from Warwick Driving Test Centre. Now on this occasion I'm starting outside the gates because they are locked up. Even if they're open, please be aware that you should not go in and out the test centre unless you're actually attending a driving test. And this is to avoid interfering with people who are actually doing their test. Coming out onto Wedgenock Lane, keep in mind this is a 40-mile-an-hour road, so you want to be picking up the speed fairly confidently if it's clear to do so. Be sure to make effective observations to both the left and right before you pull out as well. The right side, of course, you've got a build-up of speed as people come into the 40 zone. And the left side, you want to make sure you're pointing into an open space and not into the back of a parked car or an oncoming car if they're coming around a parked vehicle. Just a reminder here that the most common reason people fail the driving test has consistently been that they're not making effective observations when pulling out of junctions. So make sure you're looking both directions and that it's completely safe before you go. And if you're not sure, just be a little more cautious and ready to hold back. Turning left here into Cape Road, and as we make the turn, you'll see the narrow bridge up ahead. Be mindful of oncoming vehicles, particularly large vehicles that need extra room to come through this space here. It does get very narrow very quick, and if you're not sure about getting through safely, be prepared to hold back and give way to the oncoming vehicles if there are any. And the same applies when we've got the parked cars on the right hand side. It does make the road narrower, so you want to be looking for any oncoming vehicles and gaps that they can use to dip into, both so they can pull in and wait, or places where you could wait so they can dip in on the other side and pass by safely. And keep in mind you want to be checking those mirrors frequently when you're going along roads like this too. You want to know what's coming up behind you. You want to be aware of how you are going to affect those if you do need to slow down or pull over to let oncoming vehicles pass. We're going to be taking the next road on the right into St Michael's. Now whenever you're doing a turn like this, make sure you're looking up into the road before you commit to it, because if you don't look up and you don't see what's going on in that road, you could get yourself caught out by an oncoming vehicle already being at this space here. Now we're holding back behind the parked car to let the oncoming traffic come through first. There's not much gain to rushing into that gap to try and beat the other traffic through the tight space, particularly when the hazard's on your side of the road, meaning they do have priority over you. Just remember that when you're doing this, you want to be checking your mirrors to see how it affects cars behind, and just before you pull out again, have a little look around in those mirrors again for anyone who might be trying to get around you, particularly cyclists on the left-hand side. They may try to weave through that space knowing that they can fit while you're sat waiting for the oncoming traffic. And if they misjudge the timing of that and you start moving off, then that could cause a problem. And in that situation, of course, you're the one starting to move, so you're the one responsible for checking it's safe when you do so. Coming down St Michael's Road, you can see parked cars on both sides. We've got a few oncoming vehicles, but again, just reducing that speed, let the oncoming vehicles pass by, use the mirrors before you move out and the mirrors before you move in again as well, and that's going to keep you safe. As we come up to the bend here, it does get very tight as well, so you can see the lowered speed we're carrying through this bend, just making sure that there's time to react to anything coming the other way. As you saw a moment ago, this is a bus route, and just because one has already passed, it doesn't mean you can assume it's going to be clear for another 10-15 minutes. There could be one shortly behind if there's issues on their route. Approaching the end of the road here, you can see the parked car on the right. Just be mindful in these situations of cars coming in and aiming straight around that parked car. At the end here, you can see the car being positioned near the centre line, ready for a right turn. Again, emerging onto roads like this, you want to make sure that you're ready to stop behind that give-way line, looking both ways and looking for an opportunity to safely pull out. It's all about picking a safe gap. So if you're not sure about a gap, if something's coming and you think maybe if I'm quick, it's better to not do it and just hang back. Give yourself that extra thinking time and make things a lot calmer for you and for the examiner on test day. And that's going to give you the best chance of passing. When you set out into a new road, make sure you're checking those mirrors as well, just updating yourself on whatever's coming up behind. And of course, looking ahead for lane markings, junctions, traffic lights, and anything going on up there. One of the best things you can do during your driving test, and just generally when you're driving, is keep your eyes moving as much as you can. You don't want to be fixating on whatever's directly ahead of you or the back of the car in front of you. keep those eyes moving and covering the mirrors frequently. Up ahead, we've got a set of traffic lights and then a roundabout. At the roundabout, we're going to be turning right third exit, and that is signposted Coventry. Now, because the markings here say both lanes go straight ahead at the traffic light, I'm going to use the right-hand lane, which will bring us straight into that right turn position on the roundabout. As we come up to the roundabout, even though the traffic lights are green, you'll still want to be glancing for cars coming around that roundabout. Sometimes people come around the curve, don't realise their lights are on red, and will carry on. So you're looking out for anyone who gives you an inkling that they're going to do that. Coming around the curve here, you'll want to switch from the right to the left, ready to leave the roundabout. So mirrors and signal, then come out to that left-hand lane, ready for your exit. If you do find yourself in the right-hand lane, don't panic and try and cut across to the left. Just keep that right signal on and go around again. You'll see that happen in one of my other videos. Coming down the slip road here, make sure you're picking up your speed nice and swiftly, get your mirrors covered and your right signal ready to join the dual carriageway. You'll want to check your blind spot just before you join as well, just in case someone's hovering by your back end. If there is someone there, just ease off, let them in front and slip into the gap behind them. Once you're on the dual carriageway, stay in the left lane unless you're overtaking or if directions tell you to use other lanes. This, of course, is your normal driving position, and being in that right lane unnecessarily will pick you up a serious fault on your driving test. As you're going along, watch out for laybys like this on the left as well. If there's vehicles trying to emerge, you'll want to be looking to the right-hand side to see if you can move out safely, or slowing down, of course, to let them ahead if they're starting to pull out. Now, they should wait for you before they start pulling out, but of course, we can't guarantee that everyone's going to do exactly what they're supposed to do. When you're traveling along national speed limit dual carriageways like this, you want to be aiming to get to 60, 65 mile an hour at least to keep yourself progressing. And that, of course, is if it's safe. If you've got vehicles in front of you and you can't go faster, then of course you just keep up with them, just making sure that you keep a safe following distance as well. So you can see up ahead we've got plenty of room. However, you'll notice the speed is a little bit low, and I'm going to explain that in a little while. Now, we've just passed a sign telling us there's an exit in half a mile's time. So now we're looking for these markers, 3 on the left, then 2, then 1. As you pass that 3 marker, check all your mirrors and put your left signal on, but try not to slow down until you're actually leaving the carriageway. As we come down this slip road, we are following the signs for Hill Wootton, which is going to be a right turn third exit at the roundabout. However, the sign isn't until quite close to the roundabout, so it's easy to get caught out by this. If you can remember that Hill Wootton's to the right, then it means you can prepare and get in that second lane nice and early. But if not, just like in this situation, use the left lane until you see the sign. And as soon as you see that sign, get on the mirrors, get the signal on, and get yourself in position if it's safe. Coming into the roundabout, keeping close to that right-hand curb until we pass the second exit. As soon as you pass that second exit, just like the roundabout before, get that left mirror covered, get that left signal on, and bring yourself out to that left-hand edge ready to leave the roundabout. As we exit the roundabout, you'll see the direction there for Hill Wootton, and then speed limit signs telling us that the limit on this road is 50 mile an hour. Now, with roads like this, you want to balance your speed based on what you can or can't see and the amount of space you've got. If the road's narrower or there's more bends, it's natural to carry a lower speed, so don't worry about getting up to 50 if it's not appropriate to do so. The examiners will understand that. Up ahead, we've got a few more bends, and then we're going to come to a crossroad where we're going to be taking the direction towards Leak Wootton. Up ahead, you'll see the warning sign for the crossroad that I mentioned. When you see the warning sign, start coming off that power, check your mirrors, and you want to be signalling as you're passing that sign. Now, this junction is very tight and it's very difficult to see what's in the road that you're turning into. So your speed has to be very, very low as you approach the turn. As you can see, these hedges are quite high. They are going to hide any vehicles that may be parked up in there, or cyclists that might have just entered the road. You'll also want to be watching for oncoming vehicles because it's quite a narrow road, as you can see, and if you come around too quickly, your front end is going to swing out into the oncoming lane. Now, if you do come around too quickly and end up with that front end swinging out into the oncoming lane, even if the road is clear, the examiners will record a serious fault because it's too high risk to dismiss it, because the risk there is that you have gone into an area of road that you shouldn't be without being able to see. That will cost you your test, and especially so if there's an oncoming vehicle. Coming into a 30 zone now, and we're going to turn right and just do a little loop through this housing estate. As we make the right turn, you'll see the parked car on the left hand side. Another example of why it's so important to look into the road before you turn, because if you turn in and you haven't looked first, you're going to go straight into a bottleneck, and if there's something coming towards you, you're going to have to stop pretty quickly. We're going to take this left turn followed by the first right, and again, you're in narrow roads, there's parked cars on either side. You'll want to make sure your speed is reduced, so if anything does come the other way, you're giving yourself time to think about what to do and to pull over safely if you need to. Remember, anytime you've got less space or less visibility, you should accompany that with less speed. At the end of this road, we're going to turn right, and as we approach, you'll see that left hand side the view is quite obscured by the trees. The road also bends away to the left over there, and you've got the parked car, so you've got a very limited view of what's going on there. Anytime you approach a junction like that, it's going to be first gear pretty much to a stop before you pull out. Remember, you need to make sure it's safe before you cross that giveaway line. As we come around the bend, we've got the parked Jeep on the left hand side. We can see it's nice and clear, so straight around that, not forgetting the mirror checks out on the right hand side and the mirror check in on the left hand side as we're passing by. If you're keeping on those mirrors, you keep yourself up to date on what's going around you, and that increased awareness is going to help you plan and respond more effectively to what's going on around you. At the end of this road, we're going to turn right, and again the view is very poor, so it's another case of pretty much coming to a stop before you cross that giveaway line. There is a car coming up the road, and as we turn to the right, you'll see there's an oncoming car waiting behind a parked car. Just like in this situation, be prepared for that car to move, and of course the cyclist behind. So you don't want to rush and try and beat them through the gap. And you don't want to assume that they are going to wait for you because the hazard is on their side of the road. Always be prepared for them to make that judgment call and pull out into that gap. And if you're just easing off and prepared for that, covering your mirrors so you know what's going on behind you as well, then you're going to make things nice and calm for you and nice and smooth and controlled as well. At the end of this road, we have a stop sign and line. Now the sign is a little bit obscured by the hedges until you get closer to it, so it can be easy to overlook this as you start bringing your attention to the junction itself. So be very mindful of that stop line, the solid line at the end. You've got to stop the car completely. What you don't want to do is roll over that line even at half mile an hour. It's got to be a complete dead stop. Now you notice here we've edged out towards that center line. This is because the right hand side is clear and it gives a better view of the left hand side, and that is absolutely fine to do as long as that right hand side is clear when you do it and you're not launching straight across that center line. Turning left, we've got a very narrow road, so again a low speed, keeping the nose of the car tucked into the left, ready for any oncoming vehicles. Anytime you've got less visibility, remember that lowered speed is going to allow you more thinking time and more reaction time to anything coming the other way. Up ahead, we've got quite a narrow road, so be very mindful of oncoming vehicles. If you're not sure about the space, you can always slow yourself down and tuck in. Keep your speed at about 10 to 15 mile an hour as that vehicle passes you, and then check your mirrors and get back out again. Now, as you're going down roads like this, using your left mirror frequently is going to help you be more aware of how much space you've got to use if anything does come towards you. When you've got a poor view again, you can see the hedges blocking our view as we come into the bend. Remember to keep that speed down, and then as the road straightens out and you can see more, you can pick that speed up some more. Just keep in mind that your speed has to match the environment. So if you've got less space or less visibility, bring that speed back down again to keep it safe. As we approach the end of this road, we're going to be taking a right turn. It's quite an unusual junction because it's an A junction, which means you've got to do two right turns. The first one is turning right across oncoming traffic into the right hand side of the A junction. As you can see here, it's quite hard to see what's coming from the left side, so be very mindful to bring your speed down and be ready to wait for anyone coming into the turn. Then of course you've got to give way at the end here, remembering again that left side is really poor visibility, so as you can see, just creeping over the line to make sure you can see before you fully commit to pulling out. If you rush through junctions like this, you're only going to give yourself problems. So like I said a minute ago, if your visibility is poor, slow right down, give yourself more time to look around and think about what you can see, and then commit when you're sure it's safe. You don't want to be going in the hope that it's safe. It's got to be definitely safe. As we're coming around the bend here, you'll notice a number of parked cars on the left, and this is quite unusual for this road. It's normally pretty quiet, but in a situation like this, you want to bring your speed down and give yourself more time to react if anything does happen, because you haven't got the physical space to react. So if anything starts reversing out, or if somebody walks around the back of one of those vehicles, having a reduced speed is going to give you more thinking time, and it's going to take up less braking distance if you need to stop. Up ahead, you notice the teeth on the road here and slow warning. This is because we're coming up into a 30 zone where, again, the view is quite restricted by the brow of that hill. So this is another case of adapting your speed to what you can see rather than just aiming for the speed limit and hoping for the best. Up ahead, there's not really too much to talk about. It's just a residential road where you're looking out for the common hazards like parked cars, pedestrians, side roads, and anywhere the road narrows, of course, because you may have to negotiate with oncoming vehicles. Now, just a little way ahead, we've got a junction that is particularly difficult to see. As we're coming around the bend, you'll see a large tree in the distance, and that is on the corner of the junction that I'm talking about. Now that's coming into view just up ahead now, and that large tree is on the very corner of the junction, but as you can see, the road kind of bends around to the left. There's a stone wall there as well, which blocks your view a fair bit, so you just want to be really careful as you come up there, because sometimes people will pull out without having checked properly. That junction is also used on some of the test routes, so you want to be mindful if you're coming out by that stone wall not to rush over that giveaway line, but instead to slow right down, be more prepared to stop and look again and again to make sure that you're safe before you cross that line. At the end of this road, we're taking a left, and as you can see from the hedges, the view is quite poor. Remember, I said it's not just about looking to the right for traffic that's on your side of the road. You've got to look up into that new road as well, because if you're coming around the corner and there's a parked car, a cyclist, or someone crossing the road, anything like that can catch you out if you haven't looked before you start moving. So always look into that new road before you start the car moving. Up ahead, we're coming up to what used to be known as the Jess Island, but of course is now a Texaco garage, and we're going to go around to the right third exit. So as we approach this one, typically you would put a right signal on knowing it's a right turn. However, people would take that as you're going into the Texaco garage. So I don't tend to encourage a signal as you enter the road. Once you're on this section of road, it leads you around to the right anyway, so there's no need for that signal. As you come around the curve, taking that left-hand position allows you to go past the second exit and follow the road straight onto the third exit. So as you can see, that's quite an unusual junction to deal with, and it's definitely one you want to practice with your instructor to make sure you're happy with the layout and how to get to each of the exits from each different direction. In the trees here, you'll notice the change of speed limit to 40. Be very careful not to accelerate past 30 until you pass those signs. It's a really easy mistake to make. A lot of drivers do it, but you don't want to get carried away and accelerate before those signs, because as soon as you start accelerating above that 30 mile an hour mark, you're risking picking up faults, and that's especially risky if you're accelerating too soon and getting yourself up to 35–40 mph before you pass that 40 sign. Note the large roundabout coming up. We're going to be turning right third exit. So it's a normal right-hand approach to this roundabout, keeping the mirrors and signal, of course, in mind, and then keeping to the right-hand lane as we approach. Once you enter the roundabout, keep to that right-hand lane as you go across the bridge. And as the car straightens up on the bridge, just be mindful your signal may cancel. You'll want to put that back on, because then cars from the second exit will know that you're intending to carry on round. If you don't put that signal on, people are probably going to pull out on you. Soon as you pass this second exit, left mirror, left signal, and you can start moving out to the left in a way that you feel is safe and comfortable. Now, I tend to drift over gently because of the shape of the road. It just feels more relaxed doing that, but there's no harm in bringing yourself straight into that left-hand lane, ready to leave the roundabout as well. Another slip road, so you want to be building your speed up, getting ready to merge in at the bottom. Right mirrors, right signal, right shoulder, and if you've got a safe gap, over you go into that first lane. Once all four wheels are in the lane, you can cancel your signal. Now, you notice here we've got some yellow signs as well telling us the first lane is closed, so we've got to repeat that motion, checking the mirror, checking the signal, a little glance over the blind spot to make sure nobody's hovering there, and then gently over into the middle lane, cancelling the signal once all four wheels are in it. Now, just a little way ahead is one of the situations where you do not want to be in lane 1. As the cones end, you'll notice there's some signs up above, and it says the left lane is for Warwick, and lane 2 and 3 are for Stratford. Now, because we want to head towards Stratford, we're not going to move into lane 1 when those cones end. The markings are also different, which is highlighting that that left lane is going to separate. Now, whilst you're travelling along in the middle lane, keep an eye on that left mirror to ensure that you're aware of whatever's going on in that left lane, because you will potentially get people passing on that left side. That isn't going to be a problem in itself, as long as they're not changing back in front of you without giving you space. If you can spot them passing by, it takes away that surprise factor and keeps your stress levels lower when you're on your test. As the road separates, it's reasonable to expect that there's going to be a slip road joining in just after the junction. Whenever you're approaching a slip road, make sure you're keeping an eye on your right mirror so you know if you've got space to move across if you need to, and watching your left mirror, of course, to keep an eye on those vehicles that may be coming up the slip road to join into the main carriageway with you. Now, by demonstrating this to the examiner, you're not only putting yourself in a strong position to pass your test, you're also preparing yourself for life on the road afterwards, because there's nobody going to be looking out for you when you're driving solo. So you've got to be in the habit of checking your mirrors and looking out for these risks where people may be overtaking you or may even be rushing up that slip road to try and pass you before they merge in. The same's true when you see parking areas. There is one a little further ahead. Look out for cars that might be trying to pull out or activity around those areas, and keep an eye on your right side as well for any space that you can use if you need to. Now, you might notice in the bottom left of the screen the speed's being kept below 60 mph, and there is a reason for this, which I mentioned earlier. I'm going to explain that to you now. When you're learning to drive, you'll typically be in a small car, which, of course, the rules that your instructor will tell you, 70 mph on a dual carriageway, are absolutely true. Now, the same is true if you're driving what's known as a car-derived van. So if you picture a Ford Fiesta, but in van form with panels on the back and no back seats, the rules are the same for that vehicle because it's originally built as a car. Now, my vehicle is the opposite way around, so if you notice the white van that's overtaken us now, my vehicle looks more like that, however it has windows and back seats. So I've got to drive by the rules that apply to vans, which means the national speed limit on a dual carriageway for me is 60 mph, not 70. Now, you'll have noticed there's an exit coming up. We've passed the 3, 2, 1 countdown markers, which means we need to be doing our mirrors, our signal, and not slowing down until we cross into that slip road. Once you're in the slip road, get off the power, get your toe over the brake, cancel your signal, ready for the junction at the top, and start bringing that speed down, ready for that junction. Now, you can see there's a roundabout at the end, and we'll be taking a left turn. So, mirrors and signal, slowing down more, ready for that junction, ready for the give way at the end. Take note of the speed change as we come off of the roundabout as well. So we've got a 40-mile-an-hour sign as we enter the roundabout. You can already see up ahead there's a change in speed again down to 30 mile an hour. Now it can be easy to miss that second speed change, so you want to be very attentive when you're dealing with junctions like this, because if you miss that speed change, you end up doing 35 mile an hour as you come through this junction, and you're going to get a serious fault for speed. Be mindful of the lanes merging as well, so keep an eye on those mirrors for anyone who might try to overtake as the lanes close in. Remember, the more alert you are and the more you're looking around, the earlier you're going to spot these problems developing and the more thinking time you've got to find a solution to them. Coming up to the next set of traffic lights, we'll be taking a left turn, and you'll notice the markings here. These have been painted recently, so you can see more clearly that that left lane is a left-only turn. Now this is because the traffic lights have a filter light which can come on whilst the road ahead is held on red. So you want to be very careful if you're sat at a red light in that left lane that you don't miss that filter arrow. When you make your turn, remember to look up into that new road, look out for the speed change. You might have noticed it's changed to 40, and of course look ahead to match your speed then to what you can see. You can see we're holding around 30 mile an hour coming around these bends. As we come round, there's a few side roads, there's an industrial estate, so during the week these can get pretty busy, particularly at peak times, and you might see a lot of large vehicles moving around in this area too. So keep your eyes moving, keep your mirrors covered, and if ever you're not sure about something that's going on ahead, come off the power, put your toe over the brake, and give yourself some extra thinking time. Now the road ahead is going to lead back to the test centre, where we'll be taking a right turn into the car park where we started. Now I know this video has been a little different because it's not been a mock test, it's been a demonstration drive instead. Now hopefully what you've seen in this video is just as useful in preparing for your driving test. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll try and keep these videos coming. Thank you again for watching, and God bless.